Hi everyone. I've got a video today that's going to challenge you some. It's a video for you to chew on. I want to ask you to bear with me through the entire video. What I want to talk about today is being confident in your own person. How I want to start is with a graphic that I've made. So you'll see on the screen here how I've made you in the center, and then there's different areas of your life. You're going to belong to a family, although I readily acknowledge that there's many broken homes, and you may consider friends to be more of a family than those that you have a relationship with by birth. Exercise is another activity that's often done, with a partner to make it more enjoyable. Then there's the people that you work with, or your suppliers when you're at work that you have a relationship with because you're always on the phone with them or emailing back and forth. Gaming's now a really big thing, both with computers and consoles, and that's going to be another social group that you may belong to. I've also put the word groups, meaning either church or bowling or sailing, whatever hobby that you belong to. Like I've got a weather station that I take part in that community that you're a part of. And the final one I put in was neighbor. So each of these are part of your life. But what remains at the end of the day when you go home or when you're lying in bed at night is just you. And I want to challenge you to be confident in that person. What I mean by this is being content and thoughtful about the decisions that you're making. Being caring towards others in the way that you'd want to be treated. I understand that there's going to be conflict from time to time, but overall, where the golden rule from the Bible applies, that sort of comes back to you in the way that you treat others. This is also applying to how you care for yourself, like eating well, for example, and taking care of your body with personal hygiene, or if you need rest, or for your emotional well-being, even if you have a mental illness or are struggling with anxiety, that you're still invested in taking care of yourself as a whole person. I was asked to watch a video. It was of a psychiatrist, I believe that's correct. Is either that or a psychotherapist, I forget which one. The person was talking about how when someone comes to him for the first time, they want an actionable to-do list, and how people will often feel better if they'll make the effort to sleep right and eat right, and how from that your life sort of expands outward. And I would agree with that, where if your body's worn down, your outlook on life is, your outlook on life, the optimistic part of it starts to fade, and your will to do other things starts to fade. And so for me, where I'm at right now is sort of thinking about these areas, and I've made no secret about what's wrong with my legs. Through getting enough rest and caring for myself is how I find the enjoyment in life, and how I've got the time and energy to be invested in different activities. And I think for those of you who are struggling right now, this would be a helpful starting point. it may be overwhelming, but if you break things down into their component parts, so if we're gonna, instead of saying making a meal, if you break it down into the steps of how you do it, it becomes more manageable, just as one example. And if you can start to see the different areas of your life coming together, I think that you'll have more confidence and have the will to be living your life, opposed to just being passive and sort of let life pass you by and not really caring one way or the other. There's been different times where I've talked about people in my life, building friendships and building relationships. I really can't stress this enough, to have and develop meaningful friendships. Now, these are things that take time, but it's something that you could be working on. And if you're stuck on where to start right now, I would sit down and really think about what you want out of life when you're not working or sleeping. And because I've been working on recently, I'm just going to use the example of sewing. So if you wanted to develop some friends, it would be easy enough to either look in the community where you're at for people who have that common interest, or on a social media site connecting with others who are interested in sewing. And maybe not the first time and maybe not the second time, but you'll eventually get into where someone's asking you how you're doing, and you start to get to know people where sewing sort of was the impetus to the relationship. And I think that the relationships are so valuable because when you start to struggle, there's someone that you can talk to and you're not in life alone. And I certainly find that I perform a lot better when the people that I care about know what's going on in my life. And I think that this is a skill that could be passed on to you. It does mean being vulnerable, and I easily understand that there's been past hurts in people's lives that may come back to haunt you. But you can't live in the past. And it may be hard forgiving yourself, but at some point you need to have the courage to let go and move forward in your life. And another one of the things I learned years ago is that when there's been hurtful feelings in you, having the desire to talk to someone about what's going on will help bring healing where the hurt came from. People, I've also found the healing part of it at least comes from talking to others, and they're just sort of a conduit in sort of bridging the gap to whatever unfortunate situation occurred. Part of this does mean being willing to acknowledge when you're wrong and trying to make things right, but then not dwelling on it and intentionally having the will to focus forward once the situation's been addressed. So again, I've given you some things to chew on, and this is another one of those videos that's meant to really get you thinking. But what I'm generally suggesting is about building a strong relationship, building a strong foundation in your life, and from that having confidence to face life, the unknown, and the uncertainty. You really don't have to look that far around you to find others who also face uncertainty. And if you've got the will, if you've got the drive to to face life and to accept that there's going to be unknown and to accept there's going to be challenges, I think you'll find yourself that draining part where you're dreading getting out of bed in the morning, or even if you're paralyzed with fear or feeling very vulnerable, as you face challenges, it does get easier at a time. I'm not saying that you need to go it alone. If you're needing a therapist, I'm all for support or being a part of a group if that's what you're needing. But to take time and to be investing in yourself and not use people or activities and commitments as an excuse to avoid self-care and believing in yourself. This is what I wanted to share for today. I hope each of you are doing well. Thanks for joining me in today's video. Bye for now.